Welcome to Awakening into Life, an ongoing series of video and audio recordings on the nature of self-realization, non-duality, and the embodiment of awakening, offered freely from the heart of gravity.
Hey! Nice crowd.
Good, thanks.
So I'm going to sit over here with the fellows. Hi, gals.
Hi.
I'm balanced, you know. Nothing personal. Yeah.
George is over here to balance it.
There you go. Debbie! Hi! Where have you been?
Right here.
Yeah.
Good answer.
Right here, right now.
Be here now.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome this evening. Thank you for taking the time to come out and join in this sort of exploration. It's beautiful because we have a very real opportunity here together to sort of put down our day, put away our lives, acknowledge the fact that yes, there perhaps is a list of things that must be done as soon as you get home, but none of that applies here. None of that applies to this moment. Please come on in.
Hey! The man!
Feel free to move things around so you guys can be together.
I'll just sit on the ground.
Fair enough.
Come on, man.
So we have this opportunity to see what's really true for ourselves, to experience what's really true for ourselves. And a lot of what we're going to sort of do and talk about this evening is a bit different than what we might experience in a lot of other sort of spiritual circles and disciplines. Often when we sit with a spiritual teacher, it's so that we can learn something, so that we can get something, so that there's something we can take away from the experience, something that the I, me, mine can draw into itself and make use of. And that is not at all what any of this is about. For so much of our lives and with so much of our time, we have been invested in the idea that there is somewhere else to go, something else to do, someone else to be. And the weight of that, we call suffering. And it's interesting how the mind, in its effort to find its way out of suffering, will decide that it knows what to do. And if you haven't noticed by now, the thing that the mind is always concentrating on, focused on, and wanting to do is over there somewhere. It's somewhere else. It's in the future. In some other now moment that doesn't exist. One day. So we have an opportunity to make one day right now. Always. But especially here together in this moment. So whatever it is that we're carrying around in our lives, all of our to-do lists and all of the things that are happening, all of our responsibilities, let's just sort of let them fall away for a little while. Let's make that okay. Let's make that okay. And in the mind's tendency to want to get something, it's interesting to notice sort of how uncomfortable the mind can be when it's not getting what it wants. The mind can have great difficulty just settling into its spacious presence. The mind has great difficulty just allowing itself to sort of drop in to what's here. One of the things that the mind does, and this is how the mind creates reality. Now, we may hear words like that, and we put them in a context of sort of New Age philosophy and ideas. Creates reality. Wonderful, I made the door. And that is not at all what it means. It doesn't mean you created the car. What it means is that the true nature of reality is completely undefinable. Completely undefinable. And completely whole. Completely undivided. That is its nature. End of discussion. That is all there is, ever. What the mind does, though, in its sort of conditioned state, is it looks at everything in terms of separation and division. And one of the ways that I sort of like to demonstrate this is to say, what is this? Right? And we can say, oh, it's a chair. Well, what do you do with a chair? What do you sit in? But can we not sit in front of a chair and use it as a table? Can we not stand on the chair and use it as a ladder? Do lion tamers not use them for protection? Could we throw a chair in the air and make a small child laugh? Could we put one on top of another and call it art? What was the chair 1,000 years ago, and what will the chair be 1,000 years from now? Is it still just a chair? Or is it infinite potentiality, drawn into the shape of a chair and limited in the idea of being just a chair? So we see an object in our conscious mind, and we go, oh, I know what that is. And immediately the catalog, the Rolodex, thumbs right through itself and goes, chair. And there it is. But even if we look at the study of physics, right, it's not just a chair. Oh my goodness, it's a volcano of activity. Infinite. And completely connected to everything else that's made of the exact same substance. And we can talk about it in those terms. We can visit it from that perspective. But there is another place that we can approach these things from. And that is the position of awareness. In many circles, we will define this or describe this as unconditioned awareness. Now, of course, the mind loves to immediately assume it knows what that is. But if we're talking about unconditioned awareness, we mean that which is absent of all conditions. That which is absent of all concepts and ideas and notions and constructs. That which does not see a chair. That which sees only itself. That which sees only itself. Whole, complete, undivided, unborn, undifferentiated, seeing only itself. Now there was a moment, Lisa and I were out a couple of months ago, and we were at this art studio. And I was enjoying this really amazing piece of artwork, having my own experience with it. From where I live, everything, absolutely everything, is this. And when this presents itself in a variety of different ways, it's meant to be invited in and celebrated from the position of the unconditioned. The beauty of not knowing takes all of it in. And so in the dance of not knowing with this beautiful piece of art, I'm just basking in it. And the woman from the studio walks up and she goes, "That was painted by so-and-so, and here's what he was trying to do, and here's how he was trying to express it, and here's exactly what this painting is meant to convey." And I'm like, what the hell did you just do? Suddenly my experience doesn't matter so much as the point of reference of the person that's trying to tell me what it is I'm supposed to see. Now the reason I bring this up is because in a very split second an insight arose, and the insight was, oh my goodness, when I talk about enlightenment. And I start talking about what it is conditioning. It is conditioning the mind with some sort of idea or expectation or belief as to what enlightenment is. And yet, what I'm really saying all the time is it's nothing. It is absolutely nothing. It can't be anything. It is in the absence of everything that enlightenment makes itself known. And the moment that that happens, there's nothing to it. When we take enlightenment and we turn it into a thing, again, an object, an appearance in the mind, and we say, I'm going to go and I'm going to go get that. We're in object consciousness. We're in object awareness. We're in the conditioned state that sees everything. It sees this moment as I'm unenlightened, and it sees that potential future moment as, that's where enlightenment will be. And then it listens to all the stories about enlightenment. It constructs its visual model of enlightenment, and it says, one day, I'll get there. And yet the true matter of the teachings is that it is already right here. Completely and wholly and undividedly here. In many spiritual circles, we'll talk about, I want to be more aware, I want to be more present. We hear these things all the time, and we can be subjected to that and sell ourselves on that story. And if that resonates, if there's a part of you that's somehow responding to the idea of let me be more present, I really want to be more aware, I want to have something other than this, I want something more, I want to be more present, let's close our eyes for a moment, and for just 5 seconds, try to not be present. Try to not be here. See, the matter of the fact isn't that there's any more awareness to get. There isn't any more presence to have. What you are is already right here. In the unconditioned. Again, the role of the mind will be played by the dog. So rather than sort of get wound up in language, And we will come back to that. There is an actual sort of speaking component to this that is meant to appeal to the mind, to help the mind relax a little bit more into its own self-discovery. As it realizes its root and suddenly goes, uh-oh. All words are meant for that one. All words are meant for that one. So that it can relax into not knowing. Rather than words, though, let's just invite ourselves to be here and present in this space. Just as it is, just as we are. Now notice that this is not a meditation. And I'll tell you why, so you can sort of contemplate it for a moment. The mind wants something to do. The mind always wants something to do. And if we say to the mind, mind, meditate, now it has something to do. And because it has something to do, it is satisfied. This is not about satisfying the mind. This is about demonstrating to the mind that it is not the purveyor of things. As we see a thought arise, to whom does the thought appear? Mind is nothing more than the coming and going of thought. Mind is nothing more than the coming and going of thought. The question is, to whom do these thoughts appear? Find our minds wandering, asking questions, feeling unrewarded, feeling confused. To see, to watch, to be aware that these arisings are happening in what you are. Which is none other than awareness. Just awareness. We could ask the question, do the eyes see? Do the eyes see? The eyes they take in light. The eyes send signals to the brain. The brain processes these signals, and then the mind makes sense of them. The mind takes whatever it experiences and turns it into something. Do the eyes see? Or does the mind see? And if we continue to look at that across other senses, do the ears hear? Or does the mind hear? And we can continue to explore that. And then we can kind of maybe come to this place where things start to roll up to the fact that sight and sound and taste and touch and smell are all arisings in awareness. Awareness must be prior to that which we are aware of. Awareness must be prior to that which we are aware of. Reason that one who has penetrated so deeply into this truth, the reason there's such a sense of joy and wonder, curiosity, playfulness, is because there's no longer a sense of being caught in the world of name and form. There's no longer an I, me, mine being held tightly onto. There's no longer a world of difficulty out there that we're trying to navigate. There is only this. Undefinable, indescribable, and whole. This. So when one who sees and knows goes, I'm zooming into the world, and I've created. My mind has created the conceptual overlay of this or that, and this or that is causing me so much trouble. Oh yes, that's right. It's just this. What need do I have to be worried about things happening in the realm of name and form? It's all love moving. It's all love dancing. It's all love at play with itself. What need do I have to concern myself with any of it? Beauty, wonder, and joy in every direction that I look. The infinite intelligence of being alive in everything. In complete control of everything. Everything being in perfect harmony and synchronicity with itself, always. The realized lives in that place and goes, and so what? And then everything can come and go within the spacious presence of being. Thoughts, feelings, emotionals. All the good things, all the bad things, all the things that are hard, all the things that are easy. It can all come and go. Because we are nothing more than the space within which they arise. Now imagine you get this and you start working with this and you play with this and it's sort of hard over here and sort of easy over here and you're going back and forth and back and forth and back and But over time, your sense or mode of identification begins to shift. It shifts out of the mind-made conceptual self. It shifts out of the mind-made conceptual world. Our identification shifts wholly, completely, and fully into that spacious presence of unconditioned being, of unconditioned awareness, of absolute unconditional love. And you're it. The realized being recognizes fully, wholly, and completely, oh, there's not even a realized being. It's just a word that we use to point to an object. There's a wonderful Tibetan phrase that says there are no enlightened beings, there is only enlightened activity. So, everything is already in perfect harmony with itself. Absolutely true. There's no question whatsoever about this. Many of us have reached into that and seen in some way for ourselves, oh my goodness, things really are perfect. Or, oh my goodness, things really are all one. Or, yes, everything is connected. Or yes, there is an intelligence behind it all. We've seen that. It's right there. Plain as day and completely obvious. Intel. The mind enters in and goes, not this, but not this. Oh, there's anger and frustration. I must not be in alignment. Says who? If it is already everything, if that which is just playing you, as you are, with all of your thoughts, with all of your emotions, with all of your piccadillies and all of the sort of neuroses, why not welcome yourself completely? Why not embrace exactly who you are right here, right now, in this moment, with all of it? We hear words like be here now, and we go, yes, I want more of that. Except for this. Be here now is not something we pick up and put down when we want to. Oh, I like this. I'm in the midst of an orgasm. Let me be here now. I want more of this. Oh my God, I stubbed my toe. No, let me put that be here now stuff right down. I just want this to go away. So much of our spiritual seeking is about trying to get away from what we don't like, what hurts, what's difficult. All that does is prolong it. Trying to get away from things. They have a tendency to follow us wherever we go. But if we can just sort of honor what's here, not so much from the position of the separate mind, the person who sits here and says, it's all happening to me. And instead, we can relax into this deeper place that holds the I, me, mine very loosely. That acknowledges the fact that the mind doesn't know anything. It doesn't know if your moment of difficulty right here and right now will later become a transcendent moment for another being. Your moment of difficulty that you're trying to get away from. Oh no, not this. And then 2 weeks later, you're talking to a friend, and they're like, "Oh my God, this is so hard." And you're like, "Oh my God, I was doing that 2 weeks ago." And you have this wonderful conversation that elevates and lifts up the person you're talking to. You would not have been there and able to have that moment with that person and for that person had you not experienced it yourself 2 weeks earlier. What if everything is like that? What if everything is just the way in which this that we are moves and reveals itself and offers itself to itself? Then when we encounter something difficult within ourselves, we can sort of shift the whole perspective on it. Oh, I wonder what this is about. This really sucks, but wow. Interesting. I wonder what this is going to move towards or lean into. Again, we're still talking about the mind, but we're talking about how the mind can have a very different relationship with its own experiences. One where true freedom is revealed. How many of us have had experiences where we've been able to see that golden thread running through the course of our lives? One moment that reveals how being shaped a certain way prepared you for that moment. Lisa and I were joking the other night about how, let us say that we're all characters, actors on the stage of consciousness. Somebody has to give you your lines. How do we receive our lines? Through experience. The universe or God or Tao or being or whatever word works for you doesn't reach down from the sky and go, "All right, next week we're going to be on chapter 12 and I need you to read these 3 paragraphs." No. It presents us with an experiential set of circumstances that shape and mold us so that we can be what it needs us to be. So that we can meet whatever's arising in exactly the way that we are meant to meet it. We can speak, by the way. It doesn't need to be just me. Is there some sense here that what I'm talking about, is there a sort of resonance? Is there anyone here who feels like perhaps this is more than they're bargained for or less than they want? Just want to make sure you're not laying it on too heavy or going too deeply. It's a very different way of thinking. It's a very different way of encountering ourselves. It's a very different way of encountering our lives. And what's really beautiful and what's really interesting is if that we pick up a copy of the Tao Te Ching or the Bhagavad Gita, or we listen to the teachings of Ram Dass or Adyashanti or Muji, if we grab a book that was written by Sri Ramana Maharshi or Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj, whether we go into the Gnostic Bible and start reading the Gospel of Truth, it's all the same. It's all the same. It's all saying the same things. It's interesting how the mind will sort of take it all in, though, right? And assign it a certain meaning or a certain value or put it into a certain context. I've spent a lot of time, I guess, over maybe about the last 6 months talking in various communities and talking about how important it really is to sit with a teacher. I used to believe it wasn't really all that necessary. I didn't have a teacher. And there are many people who don't need teachers, and it's wonderful. But if we pick up a book and we start reading that book, we are going to read that book in the context of the conditioned mind, and we're going to ascribe meaning to everything that we read. We are going to experience the book through the lens of our perception. If we watch a video, we're going to experience the video through the lens of our perception. And if we misunderstood something, we're going to assume we understood it. We'll have one of two experiences. Either I get that, it speaks to me, and I'm totally there, or that is way over my head and I don't understand any of what was just said. But if we have the opportunity to sit with a living teacher, someone who has fully realized the self, someone who is just abiding in that, who lives in that, who that is the only reality they occupy, you can read whatever book you want. You can watch whatever video you want. And you can come to that person with your questions. And they will give you the same answer as the person who wrote the book or the person who made the video. Why? Because there is only one voice speaking. There might be certain nuances and variations. And some terminology may be a little bit different or colored in a different way. But it is all the same message. It's right here, and it's living itself as you. Relax into not knowing anything about it. Fall in love with life. Fall in love with the mystery of life. And you will never have to concern yourself with anything ever again. Even concern arising is concern arising within the spaciousness of your own being. Oh, look, concern. There's a teacher by the name of Peter Fenner. He's a PhD in Buddhist psychology, and he's been teaching teachers for like the last 30 years. He spent 10 years as a monk in the Mahayana tradition. And I've spoken with Peter a couple times over the last couple of months, just sort of having some lovely dialogue. And one of the things that he likes to say is that at a certain point in your life, at a certain point in this process, it becomes impossible to create a problem for yourself. It becomes impossible to create a problem for yourself. If there is a problem, where is the problem? All problems are only perception. All problems are arising in division. All problems are arising in separation. They're all arising in mind. It doesn't matter, again, if it's, oh, I stubbed my toe, or I don't like paying my taxes, or I've been diagnosed with cancer. The response of the mind is what creates the problem. I don't like it. I don't want it. I want more of this. That's where the problem appears. When we know the mind to be the mind, and we no longer are invested in the mind, no longer believing the stories that it is telling us about our experience of reality, it becomes impossible to create a problem for ourselves. The mind goes, oh my God, it's all going to hell in a handbasket. And you go, that's nice. The mind doesn't know anything. This point is so important and so crucial to the whole process of understanding yourself as you truly are. The mind doesn't know anything. All it knows are its concepts, its ideas, its notions, its beliefs. That is all that the mind knows. And it's all made up. From beginning to end, from birth to death. It's all made up. And yet here we are, we believe it. We invest in it. We identify with it. The mind becomes us. We believe ourselves to be the mind, to be the body, to be separate. The mind doesn't know anything. So if you can find in yourself the understanding, the recognition, come into direct contact with that, really understand what that means for yourself. Oh, the mind doesn't know anything. Whatever the mind is doing and whatever reaction it is having to its experience is all made up. To whom is all of it happening? To whom is it all appearing? Awareness. We can't find anything to turn this into. If we found something to turn this into, if enlightenment's a thing, if it's a thing, right? We can go out and we can get it, then it's an object. And if it's an object, then it's part of it's appearing, it's an arising of mind. An arising of mind. This is about connecting with who we are as the space. As empty space. As empty conscious space. Without any of those words being a way of capturing it or holding it or trying to contain it or make sense of it. It is a natural felt sense of being. Lived from here. Not from here, lived from here. This can do whatever it wants. I posted something the other day about stillness, right? Now often we will hear spiritual teachers in a variety of settings say to still the mind, to quiet the mind, right? And so here we go. All right, I'm going to still the mind. Now what is saying, I'm going to still the mind?
The mind.
And how successful can the mind be in the process of trying to still itself through effort? I was talking to somebody the other day and I said it's like finding yourself trapped in a revolving door with sucker written on the front. You're set up to be at war with your own mind. And what's happening? From the position of awareness. So none of this has anything to do with the mind. I love Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj in one of his books, I think it was in I Am That, he was having a couple of students come and speak with him, and they're like, we've been working so hard to quiet the mind. He's like, well, who cares? You're not the mind has nothing to do with this. Know who you are beyond the mind, and let the mind do whatever the hell it wants. This isn't about silencing the mind or stilling the mind. This is recognizing that you are the silence and stillness within which mind is appearing. Now you can have whatever relationship you want with mind, with body, with world. It doesn't matter. At the root of it all, you know you don't know. There's something here. Something here. There is something here. There's no question there's something here. There has to be something here in order for it to say there's something here. What is here? Don't know. We can call it awareness. We could call it God. We could call it Tao. We can call it whatever we want. But we don't know.
I call it proof.
Proof. Wonderful. Can you talk a little bit more about that? What that means? It's a lovely word, so I'd like to hear more, Sandy, please.
It's the self-evident self.
Ah, yes.
It's the thing that I don't have to prove. It's self-evident.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, the self-evident self. My own sort of descriptions of my own awakening to this reality, I talk about it as, awareness became aware of awareness. Awareness only. Awareness aware of itself. And it's the same thing, self-evident. Self-evident. Completely self-evident. Beautiful, thank you. That's really wonderful.
Ego!
Ego! We can gather together in various spiritual circumstances and communities, and we have these dialogues about love. And we may talk about love in terms of helping each other and taking care of each other and saving the world and all of these other things. And that's beautiful. It's very loving. But there's a completely different kind of love that we can discover in ourselves as a part of this awakening or unfolding process. As we awaken from the dream of duality, as we wake up from the dream of separation, from the dream of I. Imagine for a moment that waking up from the dream of I leads you to experience for yourself that everything, absolutely everything is what you are. Everything is what you are. Not from the position of the mind, but it's just a deep inner knowing that doesn't have an object. It doesn't have words, it doesn't have a description, it doesn't have a container, it doesn't have anything. It's just there. Everything is what you are. Now, when that is lived, when that is fully recognized and lived, love is in everything. It's already in everything anyway. The mind has great difficulty in understanding that. The mind looks at one set of his circumstances and says, no, 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 not this. And another set of circumstances and says, yes, 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 more of this. The judging mind. The one who thinks it knows. Right? Imagine being in love with love itself. Seeing nothing but love in absolutely everything. To know it is the ground of your own being, and to know it is the ground of all that is. To fall in love with love itself. That's a very different kind of love. We're not talking about fixing anyone or changing anything or correcting anything. We are talking about what is immediately available to absolutely every being. And there is nothing more loving than falling in love with love itself. There's that phrase in Buddhist philosophy that says, when a Buddha awakens, the world awakens. There are phrases in other spiritual traditions that will say, when one awakens in a certain way, they bring the energy of 1,000 beings, or 10,000 beings, or 1,000,000 beings to the forefront of the whole human experience. Because if you know who you are, love itself, and that's everything. Everything that you are is infused with it. Everything that you do is an expression of it. Naturally and without any effort whatsoever, you touch the world. The small I, the little I, the me and mine, doesn't have an understanding that allows for that kind of a love. It's busy trying to protect and defend itself. It's busy keeping itself separate. It's busy believing the mind. It's busy believing all the stories that the mind will say about how much more loving you should be. Right? You should be more loving. Should, by the way, is an automatic flag on the play. If you see should arise in the conversation with yourself, that's an immediate opportunity to recognize, oh my goodness, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Should is it's a representation of that which is not here. Should is somewhere else. Should is always somewhere else. So when we find ourselves encountering ourselves in a way where we go, I should be more loving, there we are. Off and running again. It seems completely counter to what we've been taught, completely counter to the way the mind says that, well, if I want to discover this love within myself, I need to take care of everyone else. I need to be loving. I need to demonstrate how loving I am. But if we look really deeply, what we'll often find in cases like that is there's an unmet need to be loved that we're really moving with. And in order to receive the love that we are not getting from ourselves, we go out and sacrifice ourselves to the world in the hope that that love will be returned. We're externalizing the search for love. And again, it can be beautiful. Go out into the world and do all the most amazing things possible. Save as many as you can. But when all of your needs are met, within your recognition of yourself as all that is, who can love you more? And where could you go for a greater love? And because you're not contracted, and you're not trying to get love, you become love's offering to everyone. I'll just say again that we can all speak. I'm just going to keep going, so.
I'd like to go back to something that you said.
Yes, please.
Something that I struggle with is
Wonderful.
when you say that everything is in perfect harmony. Well, have you see what's happening in the world?
Yes.
That's what I struggle with. Is
Yes.
how can that be?
Yeah, I used to have a very similar experience. Maybe about 15 years ago, for maybe about a year, I was studying Buddhism with the Seattle Insight Meditation Society. And the teacher that was a part of that group, Rodney Smith, he had been a Buddhist monk for 5 or 10 years or something like that. He was the head of hospice care for one of the larger Seattle hospitals. And I would go every week and sit in the Sangha there. And he would give a Dharma talk. And he would give these Dharma talks about it's all perfect. Like it's just this and it's all fine. And of course you're talking to a room full of people from Seattle who are all like we're busy trying to save the world, and I was trying to save the world. And I would be like, what is wrong with you? How could you possibly believe it's all perfect? That's ridiculous. Can't you see what's happening out there? So I resonate very deeply with that sort of paradoxical point of reference that the mind has when it looks out into the world and it sees, oh, well, who are we blowing up today? Who are we dismissing and marginalizing today? What moment of violence has erupted over here? And there are two things that I can say about that. One is, first of all, it is the way in which the mind perceives events that gives those events meaning. So it is very much to acknowledge that if we see the world in terms of its parts, then the world does not make a whole lot of sense at all, and is a very difficult place to live. But if we can see the world in terms of it all, of its interconnectedness, the intertwined nature, the inseparability of everything, then it takes on a different meaning. And that's the second thing. So think about for a moment, I was doing an interview a while back with a mental health counselor for school. And one of the questions I had asked her was about, your work doing crisis work with people or advocacy work for the counseling profession. And she was saying, well, I don't really do a whole lot of that. But when Trump was elected, there was a crisis for a lot of people. And this is true, right? Crisis for a lot. Like, what the hell have we done? We put a madman on the throne. Right? And then we start to see the activity. He's cutting this, and he's imbalancing that, and he's treating these people horribly and those people horribly, and it's all so bad. It's all so bad. It's ridiculous. And yet at the same time that is happening, and that is true, aren't we finding that there is a response to that, that's coming out of the collective consciousness of our society? There are women who have been disenfranchised as a sex for years and years and years, and we sort of all went, yeah, it's okay. And then we put Trump there, and everybody goes, wait a minute. Some of this stuff is not okay. And now we have a whole movement to bring to our attention that it is not okay. It is not okay. We elected a black president, and the whole world went, wow, look at how amazingly, forward-thinking we are. We've solved racism. And then he's gone, and we have Trump, and everybody's suddenly surprised. Oh my God, there's hate in the world. Where'd that come from? Well, it's always been there. We chose to pretend it wasn't for a little while so we could feel better about ourselves. But again, now there's a whole movement of people saying that's not okay. So when we start to look at life from the position of what is whole and interconnected and intertwined, we can see how the movements that are, let us call them of a difficult nature, become the momentum for the evolution of our consciousness as a people. How it is we can think of it in terms of the whole system being moved forward. Not its parts. Not me over here having this and you over there having that. But how this and that and these particular movements within the frame of reference of the small is taking place within that which is everything. To realize that we are but a single gear on a clockwork mechanism that is moving everything in the direction of its own purpose. And what is that purpose? We could say many things about it. We should say, right? Should. I don't know. But if we want something to know, then it is love. The purpose of all things is love. The movement of all things is in the direction of love. Why must difficulty be present in order for love to be experienced? Well, that has more to do with the dichotomy of things. Can you truly appreciate love if you have never known its absence? And perhaps to that which we truly are, it isn't really about that. Perhaps to that which we truly are, all of life is just a game being played. It's just a way in which to experience itself through a multitude of expressions. And it isn't as invested as we think it should be in us.
Can I jump in here?
Yes, absolutely, of course.
As far as everything being perfect is concerned,
Of course.
where you just went, it seems like as human beings, one of the ways we learn the most is through story. And all the way back to childhood, you're being told stories. And then there's the words that make up the stories. But then usually there's some kind of theme or message that's beyond the words that you take away from it. So what you're experiencing is the story of Dean. And all the craziness you see in the world and everything is part of that story. And we're all having that kind of experience. And the perfection is that what seems like all this chaos and disorder is the most perfect storytelling you could ever hear. And you don't know where the story's going yet. And every good story has some conflict and love and drama. So when I think about everything being perfect, I think of it in terms of this perfect story that's being told. And I don't know how it's going to end or if it will. It's just this story. And you can shift your awareness of where you are in the story. You can identify as the character of Dean in this story, or you could shift to a different point of view where you're observing Dean in the story and all these other stories that are going on. And the perfection, when you start thinking about things in that way, the perfection is how perfectly synchronistic all these stories are. And it's for me, it's easy to fall into, an easy way to look at it is like, I think of God as the storyteller. And Christianity, God's described as the Logos. and in Judaism. And the logos is like the articulated word. So in a sense, it's saying God is the story. You know, and so I guess remembering is a big word in all of this. Remembering that, it's like if you can shift your awareness from being in despair and distraught about everything that's happening into the world to what's this narrative saying? What's this story about? And you got into it with the Trump. Like, so many people freaked out about Trump, and we still have all this Trump derangement syndrome. Like, it's far worse than it actually is. But, you know, every story needs its villain, and the villain, you know, causes the hero to rise. And Trump has made a whole lot of people, I don't know if Trump is specifically what you're thinking about, but as an example.
Well, that's, you know, part of it.
Circumstances we're in has made all the characters in the story have to look at where they are in the story.
Yeah.
You know, so you can look at it as being this horrible thing that happened, or you can look at it as being, you know, a wonderful part of the story that's making a lot of people have to look at themselves different and grow and wake up and think, you know, like the story presented us this outcome. It's like, is this the world we want to live in? And a whole lot of people are like, hell no, freaking out and don't know how to make sense of it. But that's like the storytelling. So it's going to be exciting to see where the story goes next. Like, what did we learn from a Trump presidency? You know, what did we learn? What about the way we live in our lives in our country or produced that? You know, it's not like it just came out of nowhere and it happened. It's a manifestation, you know. But for me, story, like thinking of everything as a story is a helpful way. Because you've heard me say, Maharaji said, you know, everything's perfect. And that's something that really, that's a hard teaching for a lot of people, understanding that everything is perfect. And one of the ways I've come to understand that is in thinking of things as narratives. Even you think of yourself as real, as this being, and it's not just a story. But when you think in terms of who the storyteller is, you're just a puppet, you know? And it's very interesting to be able to recognize that, and then be able to sit back and enjoy the story that's being told and see where it's going to go.
I like that way of looking at it, yeah.
I think that's what, because I struggle with that too. I think that's, I have to tell myself that too. I'm like, well, I don't know the ending of the story, and this ending is supposed to be perfect, so to get to the ending has to be what is now, you know. And I can't remember if it's Eckhart Tolle, or I don't remember which book I read it in, but the more we resist what is where our pain comes from.
Sure.
If we can accept what is, then a lot less pain. Which I still think it's good for us to think, okay, but is there something I need to change? And is that what it's telling me at the moment? So, and that's what, and to kind of back up a little bit, like,
Yeah.
I liked what you said about, like, all these different books, they kind of have all the same themes, like, you know, like even the Bible in it. Because I like to think about words a lot. And when you were talking about the, like, what the evident self, like, I always think of it as just the word is. It is. It is. I am. And, you know, God said in the Holy Bible, well, I am the great I am. I mean, and that's, and it's funny because I remember growing up, because I was a very thoughtful child, especially in church, more so than my counterparts. They like couldn't really think, they just didn't understand that. But I was like, no, I kind of get that. Just, it is. And where God says, you know, God is love. Those are the, I think that's the three most important words in the Holy Bible, in my opinion. God is love, which again is, there's that word is.
Yeah.
And then love, how you're talking about, like, and that's why I think there's just the basis of everything is. And how if you love in your life, you love yourself, and you have an abundance of love, then it's just natural that you do loving things for other people instead of make yourself do that because of the need of love back. And I really related with that because I think that's what so many people do, especially in America. I know people who do that. Like they're doing good things because they think they should.
Right.
But they're still kind of unfulfilled.
Yes.
And then they kind of get angry sometimes where I'm like, well, that's just love life and just love. But it's a hard concept, I think. Just people want to do love, I guess you could say.
Yes, yeah.
Where
yeah,
it just is.
Yeah.
It just is love, but you kind of have to wrap your head around that. So, so that's just what I wanted to add.
You can't wrap your head around that, actually.
No, exactly. Oh, well, and the separate. And that we're all so connected. And I don't know. I liked how you said something about the mind. Something about the mind thinks about connectedness, or the way the mind thinks makes us disconnected, or something along those lines.
Well, what's really the way it really works, right? Is this is whole and seamless. The mind then perceives by dividing. The mind then says, there you are as a person.
Okay, yes.
Here I am as a person. There's a chair, there's a wall, no, it's this, whole and seamless.
And I think that's what I would say, probably the basic, if you were to pick, or if I were to pick one basic problem that our culture has, it is separateness. We see ourselves as separate. And we're not, first of all, we're just not. We are not separate beings, but we're not connecting at a level, so then that's where all this depression comes from. That's where all this mass shooting comes from. It's just our basic feeling of separateness and not knowing how to connect. But we are made to be connected beings.
Yeah. And at the same time that appears to be true, right, within our experience of life, what is more true is that this is doing that. That's the harder thing for the mind, right? Because that's that part where the perfection of even the difficult things are included and held in love. Am I making? So it's that's sort of the mind in its separateness sees activities in the context of separateness. And gets sort of drawn into the story of that.
Places value.
Places value and meaning, and that's where the difficulty is. That's where but if we can see that from the whole position of wholeness, like the book, the Bhagavad Gita, it's pretty much all about, this battle that's going to be happening, and they're talking about how I don't want to, Arjuna is talking about, I don't want to kill anybody, and Krishna is standing there saying, there's no one's going to die. Like you've lost sight of it. You think that these people are people, and because you think people are people, yes, people are going to die on the battlefield, but none of that is true. It is all me, and it's all happening as me. Nothing is ever lost. Nothing can ever be lost.
Like Ramana Maharshi, when he was dying of cancer, and his disciples were like, Master, please heal yourself, don't leave us. And his response was, where could I possibly go?
Exactly. There's that concept in Christianity of omnipotence, right? It's everywhere. Or omnipresence, I should say. It's everywhere. You too. And the mind goes, wait, no, not me. Yes, everything else can be perfect, but I'm not perfect. Right? And then it enters in with its story about our imperfection, and then we have to sort of struggle and strive and fix and change and grow and expand or whatever other thing we're going to bring to it. And yet the bottom line is you're already it. And that the only real way to recognize and live from the position of knowing that you're already it is to just be it. Right here, right now, it's already here. I don't have to do anything. It's doing me. It's doing everyone.
It's nice to take the mind out of the picture if one can. What occurs to me, it was especially in your question about that struggle, and that is when you say, when I say, if I were to say, I struggle with this, I struggle with the state of affairs in the world. So the question is, who is struggling with that state of affairs? Who is it that's struggling? Well, it's the mind that's struggling. Your mind is struggling with the state of affairs. So Mother Teresa could be in the White House, and the mind would still not be happy. The mind will never be happy. It will never be right enough for the mind, because if it is right enough, then the mind is out of a job. And the mind will not have that. The mind needs constant job gratification. So it will not let things be okay. So this is how I work with the mind. And so then I recognize that it'll never be right enough for the mind, because the mind needs to do something. So I just let it do what it wants to do. And it's over here, and it's doing whatever it wants to do, and it's quite amusing.
Yeah. Well,
I have an interesting question that I just kind of thought of, that a lot of you may want. Because when you were talking about how, like you're saying, when he's struggling with the state of the world affairs, or just people in general, to me, I was thinking, well, that's not a matter for the mind, it's a matter of the heart. But what is that? How is that different from the mind? Or is it really the mind, and we just call it matters of the heart because it's compassion and emotion? Like, I don't know, I just thought of that.
Yeah.
What do you, I don't know, any comments?
Yeah. No, it's a beautiful question. So one of the things that Dan and I are we've talked about, and we're sort of doing, right, is, you had started this whole thing a couple of years ago by bringing Ram Dass to the Orlando area and starting the fellowship. And Ram Dass is really, if he defines himself as something, he'll define himself as a bhakti, right? So, a practitioner, the yoga of the heart, the yoga of love, the yoga of devotion, right? So, and it's sort of like that's one side of a coin, right? One side of a coin. The other side of that same coin is wisdom. And so tonight is sort of, and the second Sunday of each month, we're talking about Jnana yoga, which is the yoga of mind, or the yoga of wisdom. Right? So these two sides of the same coin can help us sort of fall into what's here, without love and wisdom needing to be two separate things. It's sort of like we can say love and wisdom are two sides of the same coin, and there is no coin. In that they're all pointing in the same direction. That when the heart is fully open and the mind is fully empty, all there is the blossoming of this. So, is it a matter of the mind, or is it a matter of the heart? Creates a kind of a duality, right? Is it one or the other? And when we are in a place where we're asking, is it one or the other? It's either both or neither, to move out of the duality of it. They're both ways of reaching into the ineffable quality of what's the isness, right? The isness. The mind, as the mind lets go more and more of its need to be in control of reality, the heart is able to dance more freely in what reality is. And so it's like the answer is yes, and both, and neither. And I don't know if other people have things they want to add, because that's just...
I have a thought on that. It came out real quick because it was a strong, the mind is very jealous. Very, very jealous. And my sense of it is that the mind created the heart as a way to keep you in the mind.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
can you explain that a little bit?
I'll let you do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm almost there, but not quite.
So imagine it for a moment, right? So the mind needs something to do. The old mind is
Okay,
always
right,
looking for
right,
something
right.
to do. The mind needs to be in control, right? So one of the things that the mind will do in subtlety, right? Because it's always trying to get one over on you, right? Your awareness, there's no conceptual anything in awareness. It's completely unconditioned. There is no mind. There is not even a mind in unconditioned awareness. So the mind, in order to continue its activity, will say, oh wait,
Excuse me.
bless you, let me create the object called heart and then chase it down the road for a while, calling this spirituality. Let me figure out how to get to the heart. It's over there. It's somewhere else. It's down here. Whatever it is, the mind creates. The mind is already being created, but the mind is creating itself through the presence of language and thought and form and ideas. It's already creating itself. The mind doesn't actually exist. I'm just saying. But within the context of mind, within the structures of mind, everything else that the mind depends upon for its sort of presentation or concept or to make sense of reality exists as an object of the mind, including the heart. Including the heart.
So,
By the way, we're playing really deep right now, so I just want to caveat this. We're playing really deep.
So, in one of the concepts, and so it's the mind has created a rat race between the mind and the heart, when in reality, the only thing to get to the heart would be to let go of the mind.
To drop out of the mind.
Drop out of the mind, and then you rest and rest gradually. The more you let go of the mind, the more you gradually just rest into the heart.
Rest into your
And the
being.
mind has created a
Yeah.
rat race
That's right.
of a story. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what I've gathered here, of what I've been listening to, I think the mind is very useful, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Where I'm at right now. I mean, because with the mind, even though I understand how the mind is a trick, to an extent, to understand these concepts is the beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, right now, one of the in the conceptual mind, I've come to a place to comprehend a concept, and once I comprehend that concept, it just gives me the grounds on how to slip out of it and into and just how to slip out of it. Like, for example, to rest and to relax is a fruit of being a witness. Okay, so these are concepts, they're constructed by the ego, whatever you want to call it. But around that construction of my mind, of moments of just of intimacy with every part of my being, every single part of my being, I'm getting closer and closer to relaxing and resting in the presence of the present moment.
Yep.
And from there most likely is somewhere else, or just a deeper knowledge of what that means. But that's huge.
Right.
So, you've comprehended that, and slowly, I observe, or I'm witnessing, because that's at where I'm at right now. and that's the word that I gather here, is you kind of witness. You just witness what the mind, when you can actually comprehend or just gather some notion that the mind is an illusion. And especially it's constructed from especially, and if you recognize the illusion of Melanie, that can be worse than illusion itself. No, serious. Because everybody has the greater and lesser delusions to greater degrees.
Yeah.
Okay, and I've seen purple fucking dragons. All right. So I like the word witness. I like the word rest. I like the word relax. And through that conceptual gathering of the notion, I'm just slowly seeping out of the concept part of the comprehension.
Yes. Yeah, what happens is, right, the mind spends all of its life in concept, right? We spend all of our lives in concepts. And then we start being introduced to what are called liberating concepts. They're still concepts, they're still conceptual, they're still meant for the mind, and they're still part of the mind. But they're presenting the mind with a whole different way of seeing itself. And if there's receptivity, right? If there's a ripeness to our being, shall we say, then those liberating concepts are going to begin to create the space within ourselves for them to shift even further into a place where those liberating concepts are no longer liberating concepts, but liberation itself.
Gotcha.
Right? So it's sort of like, it's just what all that we're doing in the whole nature of jnana yoga, the yoga of the mind, is simply to say, all right, mind, you have a lot of ideas about all this stuff. Right? Absolutely. Let's see if they're real. Let's just test the waters and see if they're real. And the more you investigate, the more you realize, I don't know anything. And that's sort of how the liberating quality of it all starts to present itself. It just starts to become, because we are doing it all experientially, we are seeing what is true. What is true beyond the mind, beyond its limitations.
Organically.
Organically. We're seeing it naturally and organically. It's unfolding in our own direct experience. Okay? The yoga of the heart is very much to go out into the world with this all-encompassing love that invites absolutely everything. And some people are very well suited for that kind of a path. Other people, especially those of us who have very strong minds, right? It's important for us to sort of to work with that mind, so that the mind, as you had said, can learn to rest and relax and let go. Not as some forceful activity. You don't go to a spiritual teacher and have them beat you up, telling you, you need to get rid of your mind. That does no good. It's just more opposition within the self, more opposition within the mind. If you come to a place and you have somebody tell you it's all okay, let's just look closely at what's here. Let's look at it from the angle or the perspective of the witness, of the awareness, and let's acknowledge that there's something there witnessing that is not the mind. Maybe that's more true than what the mind thinks. And so it's sort of this, I like to refer to jnana yoga as using the mind to sharpen the mind until it can pierce the mind.
It's an identification thing.
Yeah, very much so.
Something, I was having a conversation with my son's girlfriend and this came to mind. But this might be helpful. The mind is kind of, it's the interaction of your thoughts and your emotions. And your emotions are very much triggered by hormones. So there's a physiological element to everything that's going on in your mind. So if you can understand that and accept that, you realize all that stuff that's going on there is just bodily function. It's like a fart. And because of the nature of it, people tend to identify with it and think that's what you are. But that's just what your brain and your endocrine system is doing all the time. And what you are is the awareness behind it all. And sometimes, well, a lot of people can have difficulty seeing the difference. That, but all that emotion and thoughts and conflict and all that stuff that's happening is just bodily function. It's just what this body's doing, just like breathing or digesting food. It's just that's what the brain and your hormones do. But that's not what you ultimately are. That's just part of the spacesuit. So to speak.
That's interesting, yeah, and I'm sure that the primitive component of our biology just runs, has a mechanism of survival, but emotions at the level at where I'm at, a lot of times I can identify what's triggering these emotions, just to bring me even more awareness. So emotions can be primitive, just primitive, biological for sure. I'm sure that has a lot to do with what we have to surrender to, just surrender into that dynamic that is just part of what your organism is. But at the same time, emotions give me like what do you call a north, south, east, west? Compass. Give me a compass of what's going on in your mind. I mean, if you're way overwhelmed with emotion, so it's like a compass to identify, help me in my process of relaxing and settling to who I am and to becoming more and more aware of what my picture is, or what my story is, what I'm making up in the moment in time. Emotions can just serve as a compass.
Yeah.
I know I'm seeping. I know we're all in a beautiful process of unfoldment. But I'm aware. I'm pretty much aware that I'm learning how to rest and relax. In an initial stage of just resting and relaxing, into all of it. Instead of having to go deep and say that I understand everything, or I don't care. I don't care. I don't want to seem like I understand. I don't want to be a guru. I really don't give a fuck. I love that word sometimes. It just makes me feel good. Oh, I'm serious. It's just, I can do this here. I love it. So, what I was getting at, I completely forgot.
Emotions guiding you.
Oh, so I am seeping. I'm seeping into a place of a more relaxed existence. Where that's gonna. I really don't care. As I said, I just want to be present with what I am right now, and just savor it, and understand it. And let go of the more I conceptually gather, it just gives me the ability to just rest and just let go. And today was a good experience to, just it could be just to. It's an experience of of something just unfolding in front of me. I'm just observing myself, how I'm being more and more present, and that's huge. It's huge for me. It's huge. You're actually present, and for me, that's I don't know, for a person like, I think we all, we can all relate to being, you know, trapped in the mind and what you want to make out of the situation. You know, to just being there and just observing that the effort to not participate from the place of the mind is less, you know, it's not participate. Like I could have today, it was a perfect opportunity for Melanie with a plug unplugged Melanie to just have created, you know, chaos or created conclusions or assumptions. So the less the mind participates in that is the less that when there's less effort from your part to not participate from a place of the mind with a particular situation is just another observation of how I'm witnessing, you know, witnessing Melanie and what she's doing nowadays. Yeah.
And doing so from a place of deep love.
I think so.
Compassion and patience and understanding.
Yeah, and you know, and I think it's vital to the concepts, very strong concepts at some point or at a given time of control, fear, doubt, but control and suspicion or delusion, especially control. I think these were four like monster elements in my world: fear, doubt, control, and delusion.
I think everybody can probably
or suspicion. So to relinquish control, like when you just want to settle and rest into the present moment and just, you know, participate and just keep it and know that you don't want the mind to be participating, you know, a lot, or just noticing how your mind participates less and less from a particular situation or a present moment is relinquishing control gradually.
Yep.
Yeah, because today was a perfect opportunity for me to, you know, to create, to give a definition, a meaning, a concept, a conclusion, an assumption, and I just didn't go there. So, just an acceptance, and that everything is in perfect order when you start to listen to these concepts, and it's just another thing that starts seeping into. Not necessarily intellectually understanding that. To a point, you start to organically, you know, sense that.
Start to rest.
To rest.
To really rest. So
serious.
I spend a lot of time. I talk to a lot of people, right? So people will call me and say, "Hey, I'm struggling with this, or I have this issue," and you know, it's really interesting because the advice is usually largely the same. I mean, it depends on what they're presenting with or what issues they're working to resolve. But many times, right, the answer is the same. It is who has the problem, who is trying to solve the problem, and can that one do anything but bring more worry and suffering to the situation at hand. And they're, oh no, yeah, okay, so what do I do? All right, drop down into the space of the heart and breathe into your own being. Settle into the felt sense of presence that is right here, just right here. Just bring your attention into the felt sense of presence. And they'll go, but then what? I'm like, all right. Bring your mind down into the felt sense of presence. Recognize that questions like then what are of the mind. When you are in the felt sense of presence, when all of your attention is in the abiding quality of the felt sense of presence, where are your problems? If there's no mind, there are no problems. If you are in the felt sense of presence, there's not a mind there. There's not a mind in the felt sense of presence. There's only presence. There's only awareness aware of itself. There's no mind, no thought, no problem. And the more and more we can sort of rest in that felt sense of presence, the easier and easier it is to let go of the world of thought and all of the problems that accompany the world of thought. And it's important to caveat here, just in the stuff that I've been saying and some of the things that you had said earlier as well, right? About sort of witnessing the harmony and the perfection and the synchronicity of life and how truly intelligent life is. This doesn't mean that we necessarily disconnect ourselves from life. It doesn't mean that we become stoic, enlightened automatons who look at everyone and go, well, you're the one creating the problem with your mind. Too bad for you. Right? It isn't that at all. Because, you fall inward and realize that inward and outward are the same. You fall into yourself so deeply that you arrive at the very outskirts of the totality, and everything is in you. And suddenly, well, if you are drawn in the direction of being of service by taking care of homeless people, then that's what you're doing. If you're working on Habitat for Humanity, that's what you're doing. If you're a janitor somewhere, that's what you're doing. If you're an IT professional, that's what you're doing. If you're a nurse, if you're a teacher, whatever it is, that's what you're doing. You're fulfilling your role, fulfilling your function, doing your part. Often we may hear things like, it's all perfect, and then we get to this place where we're like, well, I don't have to do anything. We'll hear teachings that say you don't have to do anything. And it's true. You don't have to do anything because everything's already being done. But that doesn't mean you sit in your living room waiting for everything to happen. It means that the intelligence of life picks you up off your couch, carries you out into the world, and uses you to do stuff. But it is from this place of deep, relaxed presence that you find yourself participating in all of this. There's no person in here that's busy trying to figure it all out and go, well, I wonder about this, and I wonder about that, and how's this going to happen, and how's that going to happen? There's just this embracing of what's right here. Being of service to love. Being of service by following the calling of our heart, which is carrying us into each and every moment. So we're not disconnected or apart from. We don't go, oh, it's all perfect. Well, I'm not going to do anything. We go, oh, it's all perfect. And if something arises, then that too is perfect. So it's sort of an important quality to bring to the experience, so we don't look at it and think that it's dismissive in any way. Because it's not. This is the most intimate way of being that you can possibly imagine. Because it is all the self-evident self. There's only this one that we are. So, of course, if you can do something, you're going to do something. Not because you feel like you have to, but because it happens naturally.
It's happening as opposed to you doing it.
Right, yeah, exactly.
It's very relaxing.
Very relaxing. What's even more fun is to take this and to understand that it's also true of what's happening right now in our difficulty. Again, the mind has a hard time with that one, but it is true.
One word that I like used in the Hindu tradition is surrender.
Yes.
Surrendering to the higher awareness, to higher power.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Surrendering our need to be in control. Surrendering our need to know. As you had said, there's a tremendous amount of energy that we will invest in trying to control. There's a tremendous amount of energy that we will invest in trying to know. And there are better ways to use that energy. Right? We use, so much of it is the worry of the mind. Right? We invest so heavily in that. And I remember seeing this bumper sticker or refrigerator magnet or something like that, and it said, worry is like a rocking chair. It's great for a little while, but it doesn't really get you anywhere. Something like that.
You're moving.
Yeah.
You're moving, but you're not getting anywhere.
You're moving, but you're not getting anywhere. And all of this is about just like, I'm not at war with the mind. The mind isn't a problem. The mind itself is a function of consciousness. Everything is a function of consciousness. Let me embrace the presence of mind from the position of this understanding and offer it love and kindness and compassion and care. Every time my mind is struggling with the world of appearances, let me say, oh, it's all okay. And hold that mind in the heart of compassion, in the heart of our being, in the heart of awareness. It's okay. And the more and more of that we can do, the more and more it just sinks in, it seeps in, it becomes something inherent to our nature. And what's funny is we might think that it's our practice that makes these things happen. It's our practice that cultivates these things, right? That is sort of the logic of the mind.
It wants to jump back in and take
Right.
credit for it.
Well, what's more true, and I think, Scott, you said something before that I really love that paints this picture, and maybe you can give voice to it in words that I might not use so eloquently. But it's peace. Peace is the essence. Peace, joy, love, these are all different words that we might use to point at what is fundamentally true. What is always true. And then the mind gets in there, and the mind does all this stuff. Now again, I'm saying the mind doing that stuff is okay too. But the mind gets in there and it does all this stuff. And they're like, oh, I got to get rid of the mind. And then we start practicing all these things to get rid of the mind. And we start practicing love and compassion and patience and giving ourselves this understanding. And as we do that, the mind begins to relinquish its own need for control. It begins to relinquish its own self. As sort of a natural response to having all of its needs met with love. And it begins to sort of naturally dissolve into what has always been true. The mind begins to dissolve into what has always been true. It's true right now. The mind says otherwise, so we work with the mind to say that's okay. You can think it's otherwise. But we can sit in a group of people and we can have a lovely conversation like this, and then the mind can interject and say, well, this person doesn't know and that person does. And then you can satisfy the mind by going back and find your favorite spiritual book, open it up and see that all the same stuff is right there. Your own voice is speaking to you. Every time it says, it's okay, come on, it's all fine, this is all love. All of it, every inch of it, every moment of it, every aspect of it. Come on out and play. Come on out and be alive in life. Yeah, stuff is going to happen. That's what gives it its richness and its texture.
One of my teachers would say, it's not a soccer game if everybody gets a soccer ball. There's only one soccer ball. You play the game with one soccer ball.
Beautiful. This is another reason why when we sit in groups like this and we listen to someone speak, we listen to each other as we share amongst ourselves, so much of what we hear resonates very deeply with us. And there's a part of us that may very well respond by going, well, I already know that. Because it's true. It's right there. And it's just sort of, we can come into contact in many different ways. Again, going back to Ram Dass, I remember listening to him do a talk one time. And he's sitting here laughing. He's got this whole audience, and he's sitting here going, you're like, I went to India, and I had all these experiences. And I studied with all these gurus, and I had all this stuff happen to me. I know this because of all of that. And then I come in, and I talk to you people, and you people are nodding like you know it too. Like, how does that happen? And so he went to someone, he was having a conversation with someone afterwards, and he's like, hey, I noticed you spent a lot of time nodding while I'm talking. And she goes, oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. Well, how do you know? And she goes, I crochet. Right? It can come from anywhere. There's a lovely teacher by the name of Rupert Spira. He's a non-dual teacher. He makes pottery. This can come from anywhere. All it requires is a willingness to pay attention. You don't have to go sit on a mountaintop. All it requires is a willingness to pay attention and to be present. All it requires. Just a willingness. A sincerity. An earnestness. A commitment to truth. Not our idea of truth, but a commitment to the experiential understanding of peace. To be at peace with everything, just as it is. I don't know if these are relevant anymore. Let me see. There were a couple of things. So I saw that this was what you were... Okay.
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, this is... so again, what we're doing now is every week, right? There's something being hosted. Are you doing the next one? Next week? Or
starting in June.
Okay, so this is starting
in June. Yeah.
So you have a month.
Polishing the mirror, that's what we're going to be discussing?
Yes.
I love it.
Yeah. So the third Sunday, right? The third Sunday of the month will be book club. Not this one, but in June.
Perfect.
Right, so our next getting together will be the first Sunday of the month, and that'll be what we've always done. I call it, but we're calling it Bhakti now as the distinction between this and that. So Bhakti Yoga is the first Sunday, Bradley with Jnana Yoga. Second, I said Saturday,
Third.
Sunday, second Sunday. Third Sunday will be our book club, and then fourth Sunday will be movie night again. We're going to do a movie every month. And then we'll talk about what to do when the fifth Sunday pops up.
That'd be fun.
But, so the movie we're going to do next month is Awake about Yogananda, and then after that we'll do Samadhi.
Oh, good. Had you watched it?
I watched them both.
I watched part of one, but I haven't seen the whole thing yet. But
I think I've seen
it looked great.
Yeah.
It was perfect.
It's really fantastic. Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, it's on the front page of nondualorlando.org. I have posted, there are two parts to this movie called Samadhi. And it's great. First of all, it's great when we use language that people aren't familiar with. Why? Because it has no meaning. It's a word that has not yet been imbued with meaning. And therefore, we can approach it fresh and new. So that's, first of all, that's really a wonderful thing. So samadhi is a way of describing, let's call it various states of awareness or various states of consciousness. To the point where we begin to realize that none of that's true either. But what the guy did is he obviously very realized and understands completely what is true. And he put together the first part, which sort of talks about where we are, where we find ourselves, from what life looks like from the position of the mind, and why it's all so wrong, you know? It sort of kind of really poking and prodding at our idea of ourselves in a very, very direct way. And it's quite beautiful. And then the second part, to me, is just stunning. It's a visually stunning way of communicating pretty much everything that we have talked about and everything that we always talk about. It did it in a way that really, I think, can help the mind just go, oh, to the point where the mind just sort of naturally drops down into the space of our being. It's like, oh, I see, I get it, okay. So it's a really wonderful invitation if you haven't seen it yet. And we'll do a screening of it in one of our movie nights.
How long is each section?
They're 45 minutes
something
each.
So is this something to do in one night, you think?
We could do it in one night if we could do it in one night. And sort of open it up and have some conversation about it and play with it.
Okay.
I would rather do it in one night because the two parts go together so nicely. And if we did it in 2 nights, you'd have one group of people that shows up for the first part and another group of people that shows up for the second.
So we'll do it in one night.
Watch both in one night?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's an hour-and-a-half movie.
Yeah.
That's all we're really talking about. But it is an hour-and-a-half of oh.
So since we got, June makes 2 years since I started the Round Ops Fellowship. So, and we have enough of a community now. I thought it'd be cool if we got together more often. Bradley thought so well, stepped up. And, and it's interesting because now we can contrast different approaches. Because focusing with Ram Dass, that's Bhakti. He's very interested in the intersection of Bhakti and Buddhism. But overall, it's the practice of Bhakti. And it's just a practice. And it's a method for, it's using dualism to get to non-dual, to the non-dual. And that's kind of what's a little different than what Bradley's doing here. So Bhakti you're using dualism in the sense that you have an other, whether it's God or the Guru or whatever, that you're practicing devotion to. And what that's doing is through the practice of devotion and surrender, that's for some people, especially people like me, it's a very hard thing because it involves the love and devotion. So it appeals to people that are very moved by that, and love has been a big motivating thing in my life, a powerful thing in my life. And then it is also by surrendering and being in service to another, it helps relinquish control, your ego trying to assert itself. So it's a practice of, and then through that process, eventually it is a dualistic process. Like the place you're trying to get to is like, for instance, I have my guru, Karoli Baba, but the place, ultimately, you realize that God, Guru, and Self are one. And Bhakti is just a practice of using dualism to approach that. And so it's cool that we got like the two different dynamics.
Yeah. It's valuable, really valuable to listen to different perspectives and listen to different ways that these things are being presented. Because if we just focus on the teachings of one specific teacher, that can be really beautiful and really good for us. But if we're misconstruing a particular aspect of that teaching, then we can find ourselves lost. And then we could hear the same things being said by a different teacher in a different way, and suddenly there's clarity around the thing that we were sort of stuck on. And an example of this is one of the groups that I spend time with is the Eckhart Tolle group, right? And I remember when that group was getting together, they were talking a lot about the pain body, right? The pain body. Now, of course, Eckhart Tolle is talking about the pain body as a liberating concept, as a way to help people see that there are certain things that you're holding on to from the position of the mind, from the position of your sort of relationship with reality, that aren't serving you. And as a result of that, you're experiencing pain and suffering. So that needs to be released and relinquished and let go of. Well, this group of people was saying, oh yes, the pain body, as if the pain body was a thing, giving it substance, giving it form, giving it meaning, right? Now, that is not how it's intended. That's not what it is meant to be. But if somebody creates a mental model of the pain body and they begin to treat the pain body as another way to separate themselves, another mechanism or vehicle for distancing themselves from themselves. Here I am over here, and here the pain body is over there, and I don't want anything to do with the pain body because it's hard. The opportunity to experience yourself fully is lost as a result of that misunderstanding. And if you just hang out in a group of people who are all misunderstanding the same thing the same way, it's not useful. It becomes its own sort of inherent limitation on your ability to experience who you truly are at the most fundamental layer of yourself. If you go into a different group where they say, oh yeah, that's nice, but have you thought about it this way? And you suddenly see the whole paradigm shifted before you. Then you go, and perhaps even the original teaching now makes a lot more sense than it did when it was sort of being interpreted through misunderstanding. Again, this is why it is important to sort of spend time with people who really are living this. And who can really sort of go, the person who can look you in the eye and go, that's the mind. And you can go, damn it. All right, now what? And you go, that's the mind too. And you go, damn it. And you go, all right, well, let's just breathe for a minute. Okay, I'm breathing. Oh, yeah, there it is. Oh my goodness, thank you. And that's it. That's the end of it. That's all there is. So I'm just very thankful for the opportunity to sit here and communicate with this group and be part of this community and share from this place. And we are so blessed to have so many people in this room who have experienced this for themselves, who have seen it for themselves with clarity, who are living it themselves in their own uniquely personal way, a personal experience of an impersonal truth. And we have the opportunity to lean into each other as we lean into ourselves, and to listen to all the voices of wisdom that are singing together, inviting us home. So thank you all for coming tonight. It's
Thank you,
just
brother.
such a
Thank you.
pleasure.
Thank you. Namaste.
So if there, yeah, it's all right. So Lisa and I, we were going to head over to Ethos for dinner, and anybody who wants to come and join us, we'll wait and see if anybody shows up. We'll see. We'll give it a few minutes, and then we'll get a table. And but if you want to, we can come and just sit around, have some food, enjoy each other's company, continue the conversation.
Maybe I'm going to take a rain check, okay? Because
Yeah.
I gobbled food on my way over here. But that next time, I'd love to. I love ethos. I love eating.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Great. And then as we were saying, the first Sunday of next month
Begins
begins a new
the full
cycle of
month,
every
new-
week. Yes.
that's
The mega dots.
Yeah.
And like I said, that's going to be Bhakti Yoga night. So it'll
Is
be
it on the website? If I were to Google this place, is it like on the website or?
what website?
I don't.
The one for the community.
Well,
center,
I would
think
just
she's
assume
talking
there's a
about.
website.
Trish puts it up.
What are we talking about?
Like
Our
just what
next
the
gathering.
Sunday thingies
It's
are.
not here?
No, it is here. It is here.
Yeah.
So
So-
what are you talking about? So some other place?
Just, no, just as the lists.
schedule.
Oh,
Right.
The schedule
that, oh,
on
well, I
the
think I thought you
website.
There's a
meant that
Facebook.
place.
Bradley has a Facebook page, Non-Dual Orlando, and then I have Ram Dass Meetups Orlando on Facebook. If you want to join that group, I post all our events there, and he
Okay.
does the same
Oh,
on
okay.
his.
Okay.
And then there's also, we both have meetup pages. We're both posting things there. I believe Trish posts, she doesn't put the detail of what we're doing on each week, but she posts like that the Ram Dass thing's happening Sunday. So if any of those places, if you want to give, do you have an email sign-up sheet here?
Yeah, there's a sign-up sheet in the back.
We usually have a sign-up sheet. You could put your email down. I email everybody who's giving me their email, just announcing what's up, coming up next as well. And something I'm going to attempt to incorporate, since we got the contrast now, something I'm going to incorporate back in is going to be kirtan.
Lovely.
So we're going to do some chanting
Beautiful.
on the bhakti nights. So do my best with the harmonium. Get a kid to play, a couple kids to play instruments too.
The guy, Jai, who came to one of the meetups,
Yeah.
he's come a couple times. That's what he does. He's a kirtan. He does a lot of kirtan.
Jai, he's got blonde, curly hair. Usually wears kind of hippie or Hindu kind of clothing.
Okay. So the next time we see him hanging around, we should tap into that. Maybe.
So I think, because I'm adding kirtana next month, I'll probably pick a talk by Krishna Das for us
love
to
it.
listen to. That's the plan at this point.
All right, I'm going to read this one thing, and then we can go. And this is a quote that Ram Dass took from Lao Tzu, right? The author of the Tao Te Ching, or one of the seminal figures in Taoism. Empty your mind of all thoughts. Let your heart be at peace. Each separate being in the universe returns to the common source. Returning to the source is serenity. If you don't realize the source, you stumble in confusion and sorrow. When you realize where you are from, you naturally become tolerant, disinterested, amused, kind-hearted as a grandmother, dignified as a king. Immersed in the wonder of the Tao, you can deal with whatever life brings you. And when death comes, you are ready.
Bravo.
Again, thank you everyone for coming, and if we see you over at Ethos, wonderful, and if not, until next time.